Yeah, sorry, I think you're muted. I just see you are speaking, but I think you're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I'm speaking to my colleague. Hello, welcome everyone. We will wait for another minute for people to join our webinar. So this will be a webinar for the program BlueActionBANOS, and the goal of today is to present you with some projects similar to the projects that we would like to fund within BlueActionBANOS, and we hope that these can serve as inspiration for your own project ideas. I'll wait just another minute and then I will resume. All right, welcome everyone. My name is Jonas Leskroert. I'm from the Flanders Marine Institute, and I will host this session today. With me is Alberto, coordinator of the BlueActionBANOS program, Sylvia, who will be active in the Q&A to answer your questions. We also have Maria with us here today. She's our expert when it comes to all the technicalities having to do with the calls. So she can also answer your questions. A message to everyone, this webinar is being recorded, and it will also be made available on the website within a few days after this session. As a participant, you should be able to flick through the slides with the arrows on the bottom. You will notice also that your camera and your microphone are disabled, but you do have the chat box and the Q&A available to you. For asking your questions, please use the Q&A, not the chat. So please use the Q&A system. It's one of the tabs available. And then you can upvote other participants' questions, and we can sort the questions on our end and make sure that every question will be answered. For the more simple questions, we can simply answer those questions in chat during the session. So you're free to ask questions in Q&A whenever you feel like it. If there are more complex or nuanced questions, then we will have a general Q&A session at the end, where I or Alberto or Maria can try to answer your question. Questions will also be taken up in the frequently asked questions section of our website. So you'll be able to find your question and the answer to it afterwards as well. This is the agenda for today. We'll start with an introduction from Alberto about BlueActionBANOS as a program and the larger context of Mission Ocean. Then I will reiterate something that was explained on our first webinar, which happened last week, but because it is relevant today, is what sort of activities and what type of partners, what type of consortia can be funded through our BlueActionBANOS program. And then we will come to the main event of this webinar, which are 4 exemplary projects, 4 projects that we selected for you as a source of inspiration. So we have 4 speakers with us here today. They are not associated with BlueActionBANOS. They have not been funded through BlueActionBANOS, but they were so kind to share their project experiences. And then we'll end with a Q&A session and some next steps. And with that, I'll give the word to Alberto, who is the Program Coordinator of BlueActionBANOS.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So nice to see so many of you here today for this session, and thanks so much, Jonas, for the introduction. And indeed, I will present a little bit more the context of the BlueActionBANOS project, how it is ingrained in Mission Ocean, and so what we are really looking to achieve with the project. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Basically, BlueActionBANOS is a project, 4 years project with 18 project partners across the Baltic and North Sea region. So that's why the acronym BANOS, where we have a 12.4 million budget. And the exciting news is that out of these, 9 million are dedicated to funding third-party funded projects, which is really about empowering communities on the ground to make a change. Next slide, please. So this is just a consortium for you to have a look, and partners have also been divided by country because, of course, this has a relevance in terms that we have national contact points in each of the countries that are targeted by the funding program, so that also you can have national support if needed. Next. And also just to give this framing, so I know how many of you already have experience with Mission Ocean, but basically Mission Ocean is a very ambitious program of the European Commission, which plans to achieve 3 main objectives by 2030, and I will come to those in a second. And to achieve these objectives, the mission is divided into lighthouses that are sites to basically test, demonstrate, and deploy solutions. So there are 4 lighthouses, as you can see on the screen, and we have also put here the different action-oriented projects that support each of these lighthouses. So I just want to share that basically, if you are from a country that is not eligible under the BlueActionBANOS project, there are the other projects that you see that have specular funding programs that work more or less the same and are active right now, so that you can also find support for your lighthouse. Next slide, please. So the objectives, as I said, Mission Ocean has 3 major objectives, which are to protect and restore marine and freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity, to prevent and eliminate pollution of our oceans, seas, and waters, and to make the sustainable blue economy carbon neutral and circular. So basically, all of the actions, the transition agendas that we will fund will need to contribute to these 3 overall objectives. And Mission Ocean now is in its second phase. So there was a first phase which started in 2021, which was more about piloting, and now we're really looking at scaling up and deploying the actions that can support these objectives wide in our different lighthouses. And so that's what we would like you to do. Next slide, please. So again, these are the objectives. And as I said, really, we want scaling up and deployment. So we want really to see action happening on the ground. Next, please. And so we want to really empower you. So we want really diverse communities, and Jonas has a presentation coming up soon in which he also has described some of the types of communities that we would like to invite to have projects, to write proposals, to give us ideas on what they would like to do, because really what we want to do is to provide you with support so that you can develop high impact actions in your region, in your community, that then support the overall goals of Mission Ocean. Next, please. And yeah, so you will be hearing about it today. We basically have kind of 3 main components to this support program that we are offering. One are the community-led actions. These are really action-oriented projects that can benefit one or more communities. So here we're not looking to fund research projects, but really actions that will have a concrete impact during the project duration. Then we have transition agendas, and these are more strategic endeavors, so road mapping exercises to be carried out together with relevant stakeholders in order to basically prepare the ground then for a specific objective to be reached in the future. And the very peculiar thing about our program is that if you apply and are successful in your application for one of these projects, you will not only get a project officer that will support you administratively, but you will also get technical assistance and knowledge sharing. So while you are in charge of implementing this action, we are also there for you to support and provide the technical assistance that you might need to be fully successful. Next slide, please. So yeah, that was it actually, and I wish you a good webinar, and yeah, we will be there to answer questions, and we're really excited to see so many people and so much interest here. And with that, I give the floor back to Jonas. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Alberto, for this introduction. So what I want to do now is to dive a bit more into what and who can be funded. And that's because with this funding program, we are not specifically targeting sort of the usual suspects of big European funding programs. So universities and so on are very welcome to participate in our open calls, but we're also trying to reach local NGOs and so on, actors who don't have maybe as much experience participating in these calls, and that's also why we have this support system that Alberto talked about. So for a bit of a larger framing, the EU missions are large European ambitious projects. There are 5 of these launched: Mission Climate, Mission Cancer, Mission Cities, Mission Ocean and Waters, which is what we are dealing with here, and Mission Soil. And what makes these missions a novel funding instrument, and more than just a funding instrument, is that they don't specifically fund research and innovation only, but they're trying to achieve a very large a solution to a very large societal problem. And so we want all of society to be mobilized towards these common goals. Right, so Mission Ocean and Waters has its own objectives, and as you think about your project for our open BlueActionBANOS calls, you need to align with these objectives. But these are 3 very general objectives. So to protect and restore the marine and freshwater environment, to prevent and eliminate pollution, and to move towards a carbon neutral and circular blue economy. To make this a bit more concrete, there are specific targets tied to these objectives. For example, to reduce plastic litter by 50% by 2030, and so on. And it's not limited to just these sort of operational targets, but there are 2 enablers within Mission Ocean, and activities submitted to these calls can also fall within these enabling activities. So this is aiming for a digital knowledge system, the digital twin of the ocean, and also increasing public mobilization and engagement towards the goals of Mission Ocean. For a full breakdown into the smaller details of these various targets, you can go to the system developed by the Marine Information System for Europe, in short, WISE Marine. On their website, there's this interactive wheel of Mission Ocean objectives and targets, and it goes into more and more detail. And as you develop your project for our open calls, we would like you to use this breakdown as arguments for arguing that, yes, you are aligned with Mission Ocean objectives. And then to make it absolutely concrete, we have a list of activities that can be funded. This list is found in Annex 1 of the terms and conditions of each open call. So if you go to our BlueActionBANOS website, under the tab Funding, you can download the document with terms and conditions. And on page 21, if I'm not mistaken, you'll find Annex 1 with a list of activities. This is what it looks like. These are not all the activities. In this case, this is for the community-led action open call, just the top of the list I'm showing here. So if your activity that you have in mind to be funded falls within the activities of this list, then yes, it can definitely be funded. So this is about things like sustainable blue tourism, local entrepreneurship, nature-based solutions in shipping, citizen science programs. These are just examples. There's many more, and it's quite broad. So we're rather confident that you will find your envisioned activity within this list. So to summarize on what can be funded exactly, actions should be bottom up, but you have to justify it through the lens of Mission Ocean objectives. You can look at the WISE Marine breakdown of these Mission Ocean objectives as guidance. You will find the URL on this slide here. And to see an overview of the concrete actions that can be funded, please refer to Annex 1 in the terms and conditions. Then who can be funded? The short answer is any legal entity that is registered within one of the BANOS countries. So the European member states that border the North or Baltic Sea are eligible, any entity that is formally registered. And this is across the quadruple helix. So it can be, you can be from government, regional or local authorities, from academia, universities, knowledge institutions, educational establishments, and research organizations. Industry is welcome as well. You could be a locally based company, you could be a consulting company or a knowledge broker, a financial institution, or a cooperative, professional association. And lastly, from civil society, NGOs, foundations, or any entity fostering inclusion, conservation, local development, and so on. And there is a lot of talk about communities. Certainly within the community-led actions, they should be led by a community, and the transition agendas should be aimed at or developed by a community as well. And the types of communities, to clarify this, because it's a hard concept to define, we also have a list of what we see as a community in the terms and conditions of the open calls. This is on page 7 of the terms and conditions. And this will list things like aquaculture cooperatives, marine cultural heritage community, social enterprises for blue skills development, environmental protection communities, and so on. So please refer to this list if you're not quite clear on what a community can be. And we have 2 open calls. One is the community-led actions. They should be submitted by consortia of at least 2 partners, up to 12 partners. And this is applying for 200,000 euros at a minimum, up to 2 million euros. And it's aimed at action-oriented projects. And the second open call are the transition agendas. This is about developing a agenda to move your community or your organization to increase your sustainability goals. And this can be a single partner or up to 3 partners in a consortium, and up to 100,000 euros per transition agenda. And then we will move to our first speaker today, who will present his project. This is Frederick Bruce from S-Pro and also Submariner, and he will talk about his project, Cool Blue.
Thank you, Jonas. You can already move to the next slide. Thank you. And I'll set my timer. Yes, so good morning, everyone. My name is Frederick, and I'll just be talking about the Cool Blue project as a case study, let's say, for the BlueActionBANOS call. So the original title of the Cool Blue project call was Towards Community-Driven Business Models, Regenerative Ocean Farming, and the objectives were to assess the feasibility, not only economic feasibility, but also environmental and social feasibility of low-trophic aquaculture, basically, or also low-trophic, multi-trophic aquaculture. It was the Horizon Europe CSA, or Coordination and Support Action. It had a budget of around €1 million and is 100% funded. And it started in April 2023 and will run until March next year. Next slide, please. Thank you. So there are 4 partners. S-Pro is the coordinator from Germany with mainly the coordination role. Hauhust in Denmark is an NGO, I would say, or association. University of Gothenburg in Sweden, Action Österbotten in Finland, which also happens to be a fisheries local action group. So they're also already very active at the local level with local fishers. And the consortium formed through a shared interest in community-led local development, or CLLD, which you'll see a lot in the literature and in European communications, and low or multi-trophic aquaculture, as mentioned. Next slide, please. So the communities, it's not just one community. Well, now it's an international community, I would say. It started with Hauhust, and they have a Nordic network with many of the Nordic countries who have a shared interest in this topic. In Denmark, they are a network of networks, essentially, so they have around 40 communities all over the country. The University of Gothenburg has one kind of focal site in Gothenburg, but I think they've now actually branched out to a few more communities where they're setting up these micro-scale sea gardens, they're called, for regenerative ocean farming. Action Österbotten represents at least one, but there are also other stakeholders engaged nearby, so they are in the process of building their community. And through the project, we identified at least 12 additional communities, not just in these countries, but also in France, in the UK, in Norway, and several other European countries. So yeah, the benefits of this project for the communities is to connect them with each other, to share their experiences, good practices, which I'll talk about in a minute, and find international cooperation partners for things like this kind of project call. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to give some examples from the 3 partner countries. Next slide. So in Denmark, what they did before the project was actually start selling kits for cultivating mussels on a 10-meter line. And because this is like a micro scale, it's pretty much under any kind of red flags pulled up by the authorities. Still, this was done before any kind of licensing process existed for these micro scale farms. Next slide, please. So yeah, there was quite a lot of interest. I think they had something like 300 people buy these kits, who started then putting them in the water. And so the authorities then had to react. And if you go to the next slide, and very quickly developed a 1-page licensing form for these so-called hobby cultivation kits of mussels, oysters, or other species such as seaweeds. And then you just need to write basically your contact details, what you're growing, where it's located, and then you're kind of put on the map so that the authorities can track who is doing what and where. So this is the kind of success story of a community-led action that actually led to a reaction from the authorities and enabled this micro-scale regenerative ocean farming. So this is a good practice that we wanted to share with you. Next slide, please. And then looking at Finland, this concept is pretty new, and they have the added challenge of a very low salinity in the Gulf of Bothnia, which is the kind of northeast part of the Baltic Sea. So it's almost freshwater. So they had to look at other things to cultivate. So they made these floating platforms, as you can see in the picture, and tested out different types of vegetables, basically like kale and other coastal plants, to see how they grow. And it's a really fun kind of community building exercise. So they did workshops with local communities on how to build these and testing out different designs. Because literature shows that the root systems that actually hang in the water are actually good for biodiversity. They provide shelter for fish. So they wanted to try to replicate that. But it's very early stages, so they've just done a few initial tests over the past couple of years, and they're looking to develop it further. So the plants were on the one side, and if you go to the next slide, they were also looking at mussels, but not marine mussels like we know, the blue mussels or the Mediterranean mussels. These are duck mussels, which are a kind of freshwater lake mussel. And a lot of freshwater mussels are very endangered. These ones are actually very common. Anodonta anatina is the Latin name. And in Finland, they have thousands of lakes. So they started looking at the life cycle of these mussels, where they grow, can they tolerate very low salinity in the Baltic, and also started doing tests with cooking as well, so to see whether it would be a viable food option, as mussels are. Next slide, please. And this actually got quite a lot of interest across the whole country, and actually there was a very high-profile chef who put it on his menu before. We were really ready as a consortium to, we made it very clear that this is not an actual approved food yet in the EU, but still he wanted to try something new because chefs are always, trying new things. And the authorities actually had to step in and say, you can't serve this food because of the novel food regulation. This is not a recognized foodstuff yet, but it got into all of the national newspapers, created quite a big, thing. So now it's definitely in the public awareness, and it's also, all publicity is good publicity in this sense, and hopefully it will lead to further projects for Action Österbotten to further investigate whether this is actually usable as a food, and also the authorities have also become aware of it. So hopefully it will lead to something good. So next slide, please. Then we go to Sweden. So they actually emulated the model in Denmark, where they have these platforms for cultivating mussels, seaweeds, oysters. So this is the platform in Gothenburg. And if you go to the next slide, please, where they do lots of community projects, lots of events. Actually, the whole harbour was kind of designated as an experimental area for the community by the local authority, which is also a good practice of the local authority kind of taking the initiative themselves and giving the space to the community to experiment. Next slide, please. And they actually built a kind of citizens lab right next to the platform. So they do a lot of school visits, they do a lot of citizen science, and Omställningslabbet is, I think, Swedish for citizens lab. So it's essentially a real living laboratory for citizens to do different things. And it's not just about aquaculture, they're also building with sustainable materials and this kind of thing. So there's space in the harbour for that. So this is a good example of communities and local authorities working together. Next slide, please. And the concept has also spread further throughout Sweden. And then there are more of these little platforms like this. I think this is in Helsingborg, which is near to Gothenburg. So there are communities who then express interest and they want to do something in the local area. And this is another example of that. Next slide, please. So to kind of sum up, our observations, these are not based on scientific assessments that we've done, but it's just a kind of qualitative assessment that we've kind of observed. So this top-down approach where you have instructions from national authorities to tell you to do something often results in community resistance, and then there is a kind of stalemate, and then no action happens. So that's one case. And the next slide, please. And then, yeah, so if we have individual actors basically trying to affect change themselves, which is a great thing, they can inspire other people. But if they are just working on their own, often they will be ignored by authorities, and this also results in no action. And if you go to the next slide, please. And the approach we're talking about today is the bottom-up approach. So community-led actions where people actually start together to take small steps can result in this snowball effect where it's replicated by other communities and other people. And if you're doing it right, then the authorities will probably come and say, yes, this was our idea all along. And I think that's a good sign. That means you're doing the right thing, because they want to also be involved and have some ownership in that action. So next slide, please. Yeah, and this is a long list of lessons learned, but I'll just go through them very quickly. So people respond generally to stories and pictures, not facts and figures. Communities have the best local knowledge. Communities know what they need. They don't need to be told. They can't really be pushed or forced to do anything like this top-down approach. Building the community itself does take time. So when planning your projects, allow some time for that. Lead by example, and there's a folk story called the Stone Soup story that you can look up after this, which is an interesting example. Start small, I think, is a very important one. So starting as small as possible, like these micro scale farms that we showed. Many hands make light work. So that basically means use volunteers wherever you can, because they're free and they're usually quite enthusiastic. And then finally, it's easier to beg forgiveness than ask for permission. So it's also slightly, pushing the limits of what's possible. So to take action first and then ask permission from the authorities, because usually you get stuck in bureaucracy if you go through the authorities first. So if you're doing something that you know is harmless and good for the environment, then you can take small steps with your community. I think that's the penultimate slide. Yeah, and then finally, just a quote from a researcher in the Netherlands, that some action is better than no action. And he did some research basically throwing trees into the North Sea as artificial reefs, and it worked very well, and it showed a lot of biodiversity accretion from different species. So yeah, I think that's the last slide. Thank you for listening. Yeah.
Great, brilliant. Thank you, Frederick. Very progressive and creative project. We can have one or two questions from the audience, so please use the Q&A function if you have questions specifically to Frederick about this project. So not about BlueActionBANOS details, but about the Cool Blue project. And in the meantime, I actually have a question. For working with the communities, Frederick, within the Cool Blue consortium, did you as a partner find the communities, or did they reach out to you? How did that happen exactly?
Generally, they reached out to us. So part of the project was to set up a kind of help desk of contact people in the different countries, so that people who are interested in this topic can actually talk to someone who can guide them through things like the bureaucracy or the licensing process in their country, and anything they need to be aware of, any safety concerns, this kind of thing. So it was really to enable these communities to access information through specific people. So that was the main way. And there's a lot of interest, so they came to us and we didn't need to go to them so much.
All right, thank you. I think there are no questions in the Q&A. Oh, okay. Let me check. I have a question from Mariolene with developing this international communities on mussels. Is this restricted to Northern EU countries, or are they open for expanding to, for example, the Netherlands?
They're definitely open. So I think there's currently not. So we also had a follow-up or sister project called Cool Blue Baltic, where we expanded the network to Baltic countries. And these projects are coming to an end. So we're now looking for kind of a follow-up project or how to continue this or maintain this network. And we're definitely open to other countries joining. So I mentioned the UK and France, Norway. I don't think we have someone for the Netherlands yet. So absolutely, we'd love to have people from other countries join the network. And this website is Cool Blue Future, all one word. Coolbluefuture.org is the website if you want to find more information, and there's a contact form there as well if you want to get in touch.
Look at that, an open invitation. So this project was an example of something that is similar to the community-led action open call that we have with BlueActionBANOS. And now we'll move to a second project also on the level of these community-led actions. And this project is Ult Farms, and it will be presented by engineer Alex Zimba from Deltaris. Alex, I will leave it to you.
Great, thanks so much, Jonas. If you can skip to the next one. Yeah, one more. So thanks so much. I'm here today to talk about the Ult Farms project. This is a low triple. Let me set up my timer as well, so that way we have that going. It's a large European Horizon Europe funded project that's been running for a number of years now. What we've been focusing on in this project is then a co-design, co-management, and co-investment approach to integrating low trophic aquaculture, be that mussels, oysters, or seaweeds, into offshore renewable energy production, most notably offshore wind. For this, we also then have a number of activities, and we also had cascade funding calls within this project, where then we could have a sustainable innovation then be replicated in other regions as well. For this presentation, I'll focus on many of the achievements that we've made within the project, as it should be rounding off at the end of next year. If you can go to the next slide. Key information on this project is we've taken a focus on sustainability and restoration, meaning the activities that are being deployed. Many of them include some sort of either nature inclusive design or nature restoration elements in order to move away from the standard mitigation of activities and look towards active restoration or potential positive creation through human interventions and activities within these sites. On the next slide, you'll then see our project development phases. Next slide. Yeah, so we've now been going through the design and demonstration phase. We've had 2.5, 3 years of active demonstration of a number of our pilots. We're now entering the commercialization and exploitable product phase, meaning we're looking to then replicate and transfer the activities that have been achieved within the project to other regions or other areas. So that's why this is perhaps an interesting project to have a look at, where there's a number of technologies or solutions for low trophic aquaculture and nature enhancement or restoration, which could then be used in any one of the upcoming calls, actions, or as reference material and support. On the next slide, I can then show you the number of our pilots. So again, they're spread across the southern North Sea and also the western Baltic. We have 1 in Belgium, the Netherlands, 2 in Germany, 1 in the North Sea, 1 in the Baltic, and 2 in Denmark, both in the western Baltic. At the next slide, you can. I'll then go through the number of activities done at these different demonstrators to give you an idea of the different flavors of solutions that we have. Here in the Belgian pilot, we worked closely with an offshore wind operator in order to then have not only seaweed deployment within the Belwind offshore wind farm, but also oyster restoration and oyster farming. Here you can see the main partners that have been included in this work. There's also been the development of a novel backbone structure, which can be used for oyster, blue mussel, or seaweed aquaculture. If we move on, we can look at some of the nice figures. So here you see some of the designs for the restoration and passive fisheries. So in this general concept, there was a deployment of biodegradable reef elements, enhancement of the existing gravel beds, and also some 3D printing of different artificial substrates, which were then tested to see at how much the flat oysters would then be able to attach, as well as some bottom aquaculture and longline aquaculture. These tests ran for about at the end of this season, so in the spring, at the summer when they start removing some of these installations. We'll have our final results, but as of now, there's been very positive feedback. Different number of monitoring and anti-biofouling have been conducted here, and even a collaboration with the Irish in the southwestern part of Ireland in Bantry Bay. If we look at the next slide, the key achievements and elements that have come out of this project have been a new submersible backbone system, restoration and artificial reef design, so lots of different patents and developments and customizations have been achieved, different monitoring techniques, as well as scalable cultivation of flat oysters, and notably a community of practice, which now involves a number of universities, research organizations, as well as local communities and some commercial actors as well. Moving on, we can then look at our submersible test at BMRS. This is just a quick image of this backbone system, which can then have lines or nets attached to it. This is a commercial product, which you can contact our partner, Impact 9. They can produce this and sell this for any of your project needs. If we then look at the next slide, you can also see that this deployment is then was then deployed in Bantry just before a large storm. So a number of very large storms came and hit this installation after it was being deployed. It survived with no issues, so it's also quite weather hardened and applicable for North or Baltic Sea applications. If we look at the next slide, you can also see some of our monitoring techniques here. So as we all know, going out to sea can be quite expensive. Using an acoustic detection with multi-beam, our partners were then able to go out in a small boat and then drive along the long lines for both seaweed and mussels and be able to detect the growth rates, the system status without actually pulling the line out of the water. This then reduced the need for the size of the boat and the amount of crew in order to do these operational missions, and also made it a lot more cost effective, as some of the partners who are already out there at the wind farm doing some operations could actually drag this acoustic sensor next to their boat and take these images for the partners that were responsible for these lines. So there were a number of synergies found and some nice new technical solutions found to then lower the costs and increase the amount of data gathered from such missions. If we look at the next slide, then we can move on to our Dutch pilot. Here, there was the focus on this submersible platform here on the left. This is the first iteration of such a platform. This has already been funded going further with OS International and a number of Dutch partners to then have a full-scale deployment, a larger scaled-up deployment. This will then be a high-density long line system for blue mussels, also with the potential to have solar panels on top, as well as tidal energy generations. So this is both an aquaculture platform as well as mixed with renewable energy platform. This has been tested throughout the past years with varying results. This should all be coming out this summer in a number of reports. However, one of the other focuses we'll see on the next slide has been coastal restoration within this area. We also had a number of monitoring campaigns here, looking particularly at the impact of such long line systems on fish and birds. This has been done with a number of underwater and above water sensors in order to determine what is the potential impact of increasing this readily available food supply source to birds within an offshore wind farm. So does this actually increase the number of collisions? Are they finding this food source? What is the impact on the local ecology? And if we move one more slide, we'll then see the underwater reef restoration. So this was collaboration with BESA, commercial entity, which makes these biodegradable blocks. These blocks essentially act as a hard substrate for then reef colonizing and forming organisms to then attach themselves to. It's made from all natural materials, and over the course of 10 to 15 years will naturally dissolve within the saline waters, meaning the installation of such a system doesn't require decommissioning, which is often one of the destructive forces. Once you've put in an element for reef restoration or nature restoration, you then destroy the nature that you've helped create or restore from removing all of your hard infrastructure. If we then move on to the next slide, also if you click twice, Yep. So here we also have the at our German sites, we had a number of nature-enhancing elements, which were these clip-on these clip-on reef structures, which were then colonized by a number of mussels. We saw a lot of fish and other animals then coming to this site. These were actually able, via a magnetic system, to be able to be attached to the monopiles. The offshore wind providers were actually absolutely blown away by this development, by the amount of biodiversity or extra elements they saw then coming around their monopiles, and they had no damage noted to their monopiles. This was so successful that the FUE, the partner that developed this, is actually now producing more of these and deploying them further within the offshore wind farm itself. If we go one more slide, and also see the novel sensor development here. Speaking of offshore wind, within the monopile itself, they were able to deploy with BBE Moldenka, an SME. They developed a novel phyco probe, which is able to then sit in the water inside the monopile. This does live classification of the different algae. Why is this important? They had blue mussel cultivation around the area. So then using this live transfer of data and automated system, they can then detect the amount of foodstuffs. So what is the number of the algae or phytoplankton that are around in the area, as well as being able to detect potential toxic algal blooms, and thereby be able to better coordinate when they would be affecting their harvests. I'm almost done, and I know I'm close to the end, so if we skip 2 slides. Here at the on-hold system, so again, then in Denmark, we had more commercial actors. They then deployed classical construction. All of this is off the shelf, ready to be able to be purchased. Mussel and seaweed development, deployments for long line systems and nets. This is, if we look at the next slide, this has been a successful program. They had some smaller results for seaweed, but some very, very good production potential for mussels. They've had 2 seasons of mussel production along with an SME and an automated boat, which can quickly extract all of the mussels from the lines to reduce against costs. And if we look at the next slide, these are some of the prototype air bladders that they had deployed at their site, which also had very, very good results. These are also now available for IP agreements and for deployment in other sites as well. The last thing I'll mention on the next slide is we also looked at some other things which might be more relevant to road mapping. So on the down here on the bottom right, you can see all this currently existing and future planned offshore wind farms. We've been integrating these maps with also the nature restoration plans, and then putting these through modeling runs. So where using process-based models and dynamic energy budget models, where could you optimally place such farms? What would the production potential be? And when scaling this, what will be the cascading effects, not only within the country's own EEZ, but your neighbor's EEZ? If we go one slide further, and then show that we also have done this for a number of mussels across the entire North Sea in consideration of potential carbon sequestration and sinks for blue mussel, as well as the production potential and suitability zones. You can see the DOI for the poster here. And my last slide is next. We're now currently undergoing the similar process, but looking at all the existing wind farms, the future planned wind farms, and different integrations with the macroalgae, mussels and oysters. So this type of planning could be used in terms of a roadmap, where are the highest suitability zones, how this impacts neighbors, where you can then find trade-offs and the best exchanges, and to optimize marine spatial planning and production potential. I believe that is then it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at this email, or come visit our project website. We'll be running for at least another 8 months, so we're happy for any collaborations or any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you, Alex. So clearly a project aligned with Mission Ocean. If I'm not mistaken, it was also funded through Mission Ocean. And good to see examples of solutions being actually implemented on the ground. That is the type of action that we would like to fund with our BlueActionBANOS community-led actions as well. In the interest of time, I will not present you with any questions here, but to the audience, please feel free to put your questions to Alex in the Q&A, or in the chat, and he can either answer there or you can reach out through email. And then we'll immediately move to the next project, which will be presented by Mariana Pauperio from the Blue Bio Alliance, which is short for the Portuguese Marine Bioresources Network. And she will present about the project's Blue Bio clusters. And this is similar, well, she will walk you through the process of developing a what we call transition agenda. So an agenda to increase sustainability, in this case of the fisheries and aquaculture value chain. So I'll leave it to you, Mariana. Thank you.
Thank you, Janos, for the introductions. Hello, everyone. My name is Mariana Pauperio, and it's a pleasure to be here presenting the work that we've done with a community of practice, specific in Peniche, in Portugal, a local region that really depends on blue bioresources. So I work at Blue Bio Alliance, a national organization to promote to create between innovation and companies and investors and promote partnerships at a national and international level. So we are eager to support the startups and the entrepreneurship scheme in Portugal and in Europe with these novel solutions for real applications. I will talk to you about Blue Bio Clusters project, and I would like to ask to move to the next slide, please. And this is a project that ends on last July. So it's a 3 years project with 12 partners working together to support coastal regions in a transition for more sustainable uses of blue bioresources. So it's a 3 years project with 2.3 million budget funded by Horizon Europe. Next slide, please. The partners were representing different basins in Europe, and the consortium was very committed to support this knowledge transfer between the regions. What was very important to support local regions. So sometimes innovation in a region can be the solution for a problem in another region. And this was very effective with this great consortium. And we worked very hard to make some impact in these local communities of practice that we tried to ignite in our countries. So next slide, please. These are the communities of practice that each country worked with. And in case of Portugal, I will talk more about this specific community of practice. It was developed in Peniche. Next slide, please. And one of the important things to ignite a community or to create a community of practice from scratch is to involve people, different visions. And we try to have a multi-helix approach in the region, bringing together academia, policymakers, researchers, big companies, startups. So it was very important to reach all these people, to bring them to collaborate in a vision for the region. In this action of engaging people, it's very important when we are in person in the region. It's a small region, so you should be in person and you should have some in-person meetings. In our case, it was very important to meet in person and to speak the same language and to be there sometimes for them to feel supported by the project that actually they didn't know before. So also important thing here is to have strategic players, strategic stakeholders to bring on board, like influencers or municipalities that can make the community stronger in terms of unlocking some things, some policies, some support for the region. So this is also a strategic approach when you bring some key stakeholders for the community. Next slide, please. And the communication is something very important. Blue Biomatch was created under Blue Bioclusters project, and we use it a specific channel there to talk with the community. So keeping the communications regularly is very important to engage people in a 3 years project. So sometimes they need to know what is happening behind the scenes to keep trusting the project and to keep trusting in the process. So I would recommend as well the communication, the mailing, the in-person meetings during the project. Next slide, please. And we started with a Blue Vision workshop. The first sessions were to settle a common vision for the people there, what they would like to see in 5 years. What are the main problems? What are the main hurdles that are not supporting their journey for a sustainable transition? And in here we are talking about researchers, big companies, startups that share their visions for the regions, and they start talking with each other to see how they can contribute together for a blue vision for the region. Next slide, please. And they came with a lot of, with a broad perspective. So we got water discontamination because the region has a port there, excessive local poverty in the community, so lack of fundings. And after discussing, we decided to focus on 2 target problems. And one of the main problem was the seaweed blooms in the region, a lot of blooms in the beaches that can also be a problem for the tourism in the region. And the other problem that together the community selected to work on was the fish value chain, where a lot of the fish value chain is very representative in terms of aquaculture, fisheries, processors, can industry, distributors, so frozen and fresh fish processed there. So all the stakeholders in the value chain found very relevant to communicate that they are working together for more sustainable approaches across the value chain. So this is something that we came out from this community and from the locals. So we was just the facilitators, and they came with these projects for the future. Next slide, please. Then we have tools to support this community. We have explored a lot of the solutions that can be developed in the region. So having tools and supporting the community with tools is very important for them have material to work on and to collaborate. And in the next slide, if you can move, we can see how they interact using the tool and how they present the vision for 2 value chains, as I said, seaweed and fish value chain. So we split the community in 2 groups to work on these 2 value chains. And if you can, we did 2 sessions about using this interfacilitation tool. That is a tool also developed under the Blue Bioclusters project, and I would recommend you to explore it because it leads us to very innovative approaches while creating or redefining value chains. Next slide, please. And we came with a specific journey for algae and seaweed. So for the algae, the blooms, we decided to bring on some researchers to share the results of new applications of this seaweed, like not only for agar extraction, but also for application in novel textiles or biofertilizers or novel materials. So we brought scientists to show that they can use it, and they create companies using these blooms to promote the new uses, novel solutions for the market. And in the value chain of fish, we created a roadmap for the implementation of recognition, a stamp that all the stakeholders involved that want to apply and get this certification, they need to be committed in some KPIs linked to SDGs goals to assure that they are committed and they are working on reducing energy, protecting the marine ecosystem, and they are including good practice in their process to make more sustainable the final product that is fish. So next slide, please. So these were the plan for the action, and we gave this plan, at least we jump out the community of practice, giving them a plan to follow. This is very important when we conclude a project. Communities need to continue work together, and when you give them a roadmap, some guidelines for the future, that is very important for them to follow and keep collaborating. Next slide, please. I'm just running out of time. So this is some examples of the community, how we did our events with local products, showing the potential of the products, some bringing the municipality to the conversation as well, and bringing local funding, public agencies also for the conversations, because in the end, we got some funds to support this certification for the value chain of fish. So that was something very important for the community to have money to work on this transition internal with their teams. Next slide, please. You have a lot more information in this article that we've published under the project, where we explored how these communities of practice can really contribute for the impact, the local impact that is very important, this bottom-up approach to see the results and to inspire others to do the same. And to resume the lessons learned, if you can move to the next slide. This is some recommendations that we would like to give you about defining clear goals for the community, not making it very broad, but focus on the one or two problems, not try to solve all the problems in the community, because you will not have time, neither time and solutions for all the problems at the same time. Individual meetings, as I said, it's very important to really listen the problems of the stakeholders in the community. Have a strategic, the stakeholders, invite strategic stakeholders is also very important, as I said in the beginning, and maintain your focus on the two problems. You will have a lot of problems coming up, but you will need to have the guidelines for the community to try to solve these problems. Dedicate support tools, it's also very important, because they are not ready to use in this moment, but they know that they are available in the future when the companies are ready to use it. So this is very important to present, to do a workshop, how to use it, and when they are ready to use it, they can use. And local language is also very important in our community of practice, to speak and translate the materials for, in our case, for Portuguese. And networking, food, coffee, and time to network. It's important in these events, because people really like to talk with each other, and it's a huge opportunity to ignite collaborations in the network after the sessions. So to conclude my presentation, a roadmap, a vision for the future, concrete guidelines for this community was very important in our case, to make them work beyond the project. So thank you so much. My next slide is just the links and my contact if you want to ask something specific about this topic, and I'm available for any question that you may have.
Thank you, Mariana. Yes, really great. Clearly coming from real experience, these tips that you gave at the end. There was one question which I will answer first, because it seemed directed more at the BlueActionBANOS organization than at you, Mariana. And this was a question about Why are we presenting this project as similar to our transition agendas, even though the consortium in this case was 12 partners, and through our open call, we only fund up to 3 partners. And this took place in Portugal, and through our call, we only fund projects within the BANOS region. So I would like to reiterate that these projects are purely inspirational. They are not associated with BlueActionBANOS. They are not funded through BlueActionBANOS. And so they will not be a one-to-one match with our open calls. But each of these projects have aspects that we would like to highlight that are very relevant when applying to our calls. So for the specifics, please refer to our terms and conditions for the open calls. In this case, we wanted to highlight the creation process of such a transition agenda, right? Even though this project had a lot more partners and was at a different location. For our next speaker, it's a bit the other way around, actually. The activities within this project are less directly equal to what you'll see in Mariana's presented project. So it's not 100% about developing a sustainability agenda, although this was part of the ideation phase of the project. But where it is really similar is that this project took place in the BANOS region, and it was funded with very similar particularities as our transition agendas. So the budget was very similar. It was funded through a program called Zeebonk, with similar budget, similar project timeline, and similar sustainability goals. So that's what to take away from the next presentation. And then I'll give the word to Wim Kinet, who is general manager from the company Revi Food here in Ostend.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Wim Kinet from Revi Food. I would like to talk about our Saucisse à l'Ostondaise project we had funded by European and regional funds. A very interesting future-proof fish story we created in Ostende. Next slide, please. I'll give you a little presentation about the Revi Food. Next slide, please. We're a company with its roots and origins in Ostend fishery, the local fishing community, but starting at an early time with some in-house production, very, very, very small, and little by little growing up to being an, let's say, quite innovative, future-proof food company. Very much based on seafood and fish, but opening its horizons to new and other markets. Next slide, please. Some figures about the Revi Food. We're a 15 million euro turnover company, very, very fish and seafood based, with a very steady growth since early days. It's a minimum 15% growth yearly, which is quite a job to manage. Next slide, please. In 22-23, we built a new production facility in Ostende. We now have about 10 to 12,000 square meters here, very much based in the harbor region of Ostende. So we are very, very close to our markets, to our supply. Next slide, please. And Revi Food, just to give you an idea, we are a producer of several product types like croquettes. We do many, many millions, many styles and sizes. We have a ready meals department. We make soups, broths, spreads and sauces. So we are very, very much focused on this convenience category within supermarkets and food service. Next slide, please. Okay, like I told you before, we focus on getting fish and seafood through retail and food service to final clients, and of course through wholesale. We're a Belgian-based company, but for now exporting quite a lot to France and the Netherlands, and starting up Luxembourg, Austria, and a little bit in Germany. Next slide, Jonas. We are a very open-minded production firm. We really try to get involved into the community. We have very nice cooperations we created with Gomio. We really try to produce products with a lot of respect for original recipes, for quality of the product, quality of the ingredients, and that's where the Zeebonk story comes in. We have very nice cooperations with the North Sea Chefs, which are an organization of Belgian Michelin star or Gomio chefs, really trying to get local fish on the plate instead of only cod and salmon, of course. We're really try to do this on a very sustainable way. We are an MSCI, RSPO, Westerhaver Duurzaam accredited firm. We have we try to be at the top end in food processing. Next slide, please. In the last couple of years, we really tried to get away a little bit from the fish and seafood market, and we had some very, very interesting plant-based projects. I can give you two examples. We have the Crush project, a Belgian project, where we try to make a 100% vegan apero product, but really healthy, focusing on some important characteristics demanded now, clean products. Yes, we worked on the Monsieur Baudin project, and a project from Ghent where we were very, very much involved. But what we saw is that with the plant-based product lines, we had quite limited success. To give you some figures, in Belgium, only 6.5% of consumers is vegetarian and less than 1.5% of the consumers is vegans. And we really saw that this was quite a difficult, it was very difficult to really launch these products and to get the flexitarian or standard consumers to pick them up. The goal for us was to think about healthy fish-based products, and there became the idea for a saucisse à l'Ostendaise, a fish-based sausage with some specific characteristics. Next slide, please. As I told you before, we were funded with regional and European funds, which really gave us the opportunity to work quite hard on the project. We had the possibility to work on this saucisse project to really try to get some, let's say, less popular fish species in a product, try to get gunnard, dogfish, whiting, or other fish in a market-ready product where these fish species never get to the consumer or in very little volume. The goal was really to valorize, to create some valorization of the smaller species, but daily supplied at local fish, fish harbors, or I don't know, I don't get the word right now. Really to valorize products, to create some value for fishermen, to make sure that a lot of these fish species do not end up in, for example, pet food, but to really make some good food. Next slide, please. So we created this saucisse à l'Ostendaise. The idea was how can we combine local fish species, how we can create a longer shelf life instead of the 4 or 5 day fresh shelf life of fish. We can make a product easy to prepare, oven, air fryer, pan, fry, barbecue, whatever. We would like to make Fish, very kid-proof. We would like to make kids eat more fish. And of course, making fish very affordable, which is not the case very often today. We really chose to make it, to give it some local branding. Ostend in Belgium is like the capital of fishery. So we really wanted to brand the product as a product made at like 200 meters from the sea in the harbor of Ostende with this very strong local characteristics. Next slide, please. The product development went a little bit more difficult than we thought because we really wanted to make it a 100% marine product. So we had to get it away from standard meat or hybrid products, meat replacers. And we were looking on how we can make a casing. The casing is what is all around the sausage, how we can make it 100% marine. And we had to create an algae-based casing, which we did together with a company from Holland. Celo was a very interesting cooperation. Phase 1, development of prototypes, create market-ready products, fish-based sausage, easy to prepare, very, and let's say easy tastes, easy-going product. We had some very elaborate testing in phase 2 of product quality, organoleptic testing, structure, after, before, by frying, baking, of course, all microbiological and organoleptic testing. Phase 3 was to make those products on a larger scale, buying machinery and get a market-ready product at full production. Next slide, please. Phase 4 were to make the products, to get the quality check done, shelf life, microbiology, all standard procedures to make a product market-ready. It was an all-new product type in our factory, so quality had quite some work to do. Phase 5, fully adapt production and especially packaging lines to make it an attractive product in supermarkets. And now we are at phase 6, where sales and marketing are at full force to make the product launched, let's say spring 2026, to get products in multiple supermarket chains, or how? Yes. Next slide, please. We really focused on this local product, local events, local press, which was quite successful. We felt quite an opening for the product. We had quite a successful launch at a very big festival in Ostend. A marine festival shipping, where there are about 200,000 visitors. It was a very, very nice way to launch the product. And we had some very, very good reactions. And hopefully in 2026, this will get us the commercial success as well. Really would like the product to be accepted by consumer. Next slide, please. Some more pictures of the socials of the product, and it was really, it was a very nice. We are a very, let's say, product-focused company. For the first time, we have to focus on marketing and sales, which was quite an eye-opener for us. But it was a very, very, very nice thing to do. Next slide, please. So. This is it. For any further information, you have my details, and it was a real pleasure to tell you my story. Thank you very, very much. Next slide, please. And a very nice picture of Ostende. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wim, for your presentation. Very nice to see local companies so involved in sustainability efforts. I believe there are no questions for you directly. I'm looking at my colleague here. No, but we do have time for questions about BlueActionBANOS. Although if you really have technical questions, I will also refer you to the webinar we had last week, which is available as a recording on our website, which was all about the technical aspects of our open calls. And then I will look at our program coordinator, Alberto or Sylvia or Maria, perhaps if they want to take the word to perhaps answer some questions in the Q&A that would be better answered in front of the camera rather than in writing.
Yes, Jonas, I can take one. Thank you very much. And thanks so much to all of the presenters. So there was a question in the chat about the question if the community have to be the project coordinator or can another organization take up this role. So we're not prescriptive in the sense of a specific type of organization that needs to be the coordinator. I don't know exactly what it is meant here by community. But of course, we would like the coordinator of the community-led action or transition agenda to be ingrained in that community, because we want, of course, to foster bottom-up action, and we believe that to have an impact for and in the community that the action addresses, the coordinator should be linked or embedded to that community. But yeah, this is then up to the applicants. I don't know exactly what the community here meant, but I hope this clarifies.
Yes, thank you, Alberto. All right, then if there are no other questions to be answered live on camera, I think we can move to the next steps. Well, actually, before giving you these next steps to the audience, I want to extend a huge thank you to our speakers for dedicating their time to talk about their projects here, as well as to the whole BlueActionBANOS team here. So thanks, Alberto, Sylvia, Maria, to you as well for being so active in the Q&A. Right, and then for next steps, please follow BlueActionBANOS on LinkedIn to get all the latest updates directly through the LinkedIn community. You can also join the BlueActionBANOS community on BlueBioMatch. For people that are not familiar with BlueBioMatch, it hosts these community pages, which are a bit like Facebook groups, where you can ask questions, subscribe to the group, and you'll see other people's questions and answers, and you can post things and so on. There will be a second part to this webinar that we had today, presenting projects as a source of inspiration for your own projects. This part 2 will be on the 18th of February, and where today we really had projects from the aquaculture, low trophic aquaculture and fisheries sector. For our next session, we will try to diversify this and look for good educational projects, perhaps, or examples from the energy sector and so on to present to you. And then for the application process, I'll just remind you that this is a two-step process to submit your project. First, you have to submit a project ID form by the 16th of March. So this is an online form found on the website. It's a compulsory step, so you have to do it, but it's not evaluated as part of your evaluation procedure. It's mostly to give us an idea of the type of projects that will be coming up, and so that we can link you to the right expertise. After submitting the project ID form, you will be contacted to schedule a consultation, which is a short session with someone from the BlueActionBANOS team, where we can guide you on certain aspects of the application, and then you can continue to develop this into a full proposal, which should be submitted on the 29th of May next year. And for any questions, you see the email address here on the slides. It's BAB_helpdesk@fundingbox.com. And I believe there's a last slide, yes, with a QR code to join this community page on Blue Biomatch. And with that, we come to the last slide, just showing the partners within the BlueActionBANOS consortium. And then I want to thank everyone for paying attention to this. And I hope that you found inspiration to develop your own projects, to think about your potential partnerships. And again, you will find the recording of this webinar on the website afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.